Catus Maximus here, this time with a vintage budget Japanese ratchet. That's all it says here is Japan on it. And it's actually pretty cheesy. As we know, of course, Japanese tools nowadays are really nice, such as this Koken 3/8 ratchet. Really, just a beautiful tool. But the Japanese 60s, and actually, I should say, not so much the 50s, but the 60s and 70s, they were essentially kind of like what China is now, with producing lots of budget and lower quality stuff. Although I admit a Japanese low quality ratchet is still better than a Chinese low quality ratchet. Anyway, as we all know, in the 70s they really started pushing, and then through the 80s and 90s, Japan really wanted to transition away from making products like this and really making high-end premium products, as we all now know. Not just with hand tools, but machine tools, cars, electronics, etc. But many, many decades, more than 50 years ago, that is what Japan was known for, was the cheap tools. And now China's taken that over. And this one's pretty obvious. It's just a rough finish. We can just see the wobbly nature. I believe this is a hand-ground, hand-finished ratchet, surprisingly enough. But really wobbly, just really basic, super coarse. I mean, the anvil has a ton of wobble in it. Super duper coarse. I think this is a 24 tooth. But I believe it's using a Williams kind of batwing pawl design, and it actually still works just fine. It's just all the other manufacturing quality is just terrible. We can see, like right here, how the grinding's really uneven, etc. This is a totally far cry from, once again, Japanese tools of today. But these were actually pretty common. I've seen a few of them, and a lot of them were just ruined or were jammed up or didn't work. And this one actually works, so I figured I'd do a little video just to add to my collection of various other ratchet videos. Trying to build up a big catalog. This has reference material. We do have a couple Phillips head screws to hold this together. They did chrome plate the top of them. This ratchet was kind of dirty. It definitely was used, and probably served whoever was using it relatively well. Pull this out and we can see. Really basic. It's actually a 2-tooth. I'm surprised. So it's actually a reasonably strong design. And there's our really coarse gear. Not a lot else to say. I'm not exactly sure how they have this held together. Now I'm sure. We can see the hex in there. The end of this little post has a hex, and it's just press fit into that. Then this little knob is actually what kind of retains it in the ratchet body when you have it taken apart. And then once you reassemble it, then of course this bottom plate is actually what keeps it all together. Really simple design. They did use a batwing, which is actually smart. Generally speaking, it's a pretty reliable design. I'm sure the ones I've seen that didn't work were pretty beat up. Anyway, that's a little video and a look inside one of these classic budget, or one of these vintage budget Japanese pair head ratchets. You always know them because of this reverse lever. This thing is really unique to these. Never seen any other ratchet that had a reverse lever that quite looked like this, and it always stuck out in the old ratchets bins because of the way the knob sticks out. This thing is just absolutely huge. It's like a 1/4 inch tall sticking off the top of that ratchet. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.